Los Angeles, summer, 1967. Dean Martin sat in the dressing room of the NBC studio, a glass of whiskey gently swirling in his hand. Smoke drifted from his cigarette. He was 50 years old. His voice was still smooth, his smile still captivating, but his eyes were weary. 11 years earlier, he and Jerry Lewis had parted ways in a furious rage. There were no farewells on stage, only Dean's cold words. "I don't need you anymore, Jerry. You're a burden." Jerry was only 30 then, still the goofy, energetic comedy boy he once was. He cried profusely after his final performance in Copacabana. Afterward, Jerry threw himself into directing, producing, and writing. He achieved tremendous success with films like The Bellboy and The Nutty Professor, but the pain of losing his big brother, Dean, haunted him every night. ABC was preparing a special charity event called the MDA Labor Day Telethon to raise funds for muscular dystrophy. Jerry Lewis was the main host, having done this for many years. But this year, the organizers wanted a historic moment. Jerry's manager, an old man named Mort, walked into the room and whispered, "Jerry, they want Dean. Dean Martin." He agreed. Jerry froze. His hands trembled. "Are you kidding? Dean hates me." "He publicly said in the press that I'm an unbearable clown." Mort gave a forced smile. "Dean's having a tough time. His solo career is doing well, but the public remembers the duo. A BC promised it would be live, no script, no rehearsal, just the two of you on stage talking, singing a song, and then greeting the audience." Jerry was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. "Okay. But if he embarrasses me, I'll make him cry in front of 40 million viewers." Meanwhile, at his Beverly Hills home, Dean was listening to a demo recording of Everybody Loves Somebody. His son, Dino Jr., asked, "Dad, do you really want to meet Uncle Jerry?" Dean shrugged. "Son, 11 years is enough time for someone to get old. Maybe I'll miss that idiot too." 2 weeks before the telethon, Dean and Jerry hadn't met at all. A BC kept it absolutely secret. Only a few people on the organizing committee knew. The media leaked rumors, but no one was sure. Jerry spent nights re-watching old movies of the pair. He laughed to himself, watching Dean carrying him on his shoulders and living it up. Then he cried. He called his ex-wife Patty, his voice trembling. "Honey, I'm scared. Scared Dean still hates me." Dean was sitting with Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. at a private party. Sinatra laughed loudly. "Dino, are you crazy? Jerry is the king of Hollywood now, and you're doing charity work with him? Watch out. He might pull some crazy stunt on air." Dean took a sip of his martini. "Frank, I'm tired of pretending not to remember. He was the best part of me back then." Meanwhile, the American press started buzzing. Variety reported, Dean Martin could appear on Jerry Lewis's telethon. The public was divided. Old fans of the duo cheered. Dean's solo fans were worried. Jerry received thousands of letters from fans. "Don't let him hurt you again." The telethon began at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Jerry Lewis appeared in a white suit, a radiant smile, but with red, teary eyes. He hosted the show for 20 hours straight, as he did every year, raising every dollar he could. By 2 a.m., ratings had reached a record high. 30 million people were watching. Jerry stood in the middle of the enormous stage, sweating profusely. He said, "My dear friends, tonight we have a very special guest, someone I haven't seen in 11 long years. He's my older brother, he's Dean Martin." The auditorium fell silent. Then whispers spread. The camera zoomed in on Jerry's face. He was trembling. Dean emerged from backstage, a dapper black tuxedo, a glass of whiskey in his hand. It was just water, but the audience didn't know. He smiled his characteristic smile, tilting his head in greeting. The whole of America held its breath. Jerry looked at Dean. Dean looked at Jerry. No one spoke for 10 long seconds. Then Jerry, his voice trembling, said, "Hi, Dean." Dean stepped forward and hugged Jerry tightly. Not a polite hug, a real, strong hug, like in the old days. Jerry sobbed uncontrollably on Dean's shoulder. Dean patted his back, his voice hoarse. "Come on, kid, don't make me cry in front of the whole country." The auditorium erupted. The applause was incessant. The co-host even cried. They sat on a sofa in the middle of the stage. The spotlight shone down on them. Jerry: "You know, for the past 11 years, every time I've been on stage, I've heard your voice in my ear. I hate you for leaving me. But I love you even more." Dean smiled sadly. "You know, Jerry, I was jealous of you. You were young, energetic, had crazy ideas. I just wanted to sing. I thought if I continued, I'd disappear. But after leaving, I realized, without you, I'm just an ordinary singer." Jerry wiped away tears. "Remember when we were in Atlantic City? You were drunk, I had to drag you off the stage, and then we sang 'When You're Smiling Together at 4 a.m.'? Dean laughed loudly, and you dropped the microphone into the sea. We both jumped in to retrieve it. They told old stories, laughed, cried, singed. Dean started 'That's Amore,' and Jerry chimed in with classic goofy antics, pretending to trip, making silly faces, and dragging Dean to dance the cha-cha. 40 million American viewers witnessed that moment. The telethon's ratings doubled that year. The amount raised exceeded $25 million, a record at the time. After the live segment ended, the two sat in the green room. Dean pulled out a cigar. Jerry drank orange juice. "Dean, you're still the silliest clown on the planet." "Jerry, you're still the most arrogant, handsome guy." They hugged again. Dean whispered, "I'm sorry, Jerry, for everything." Jerry nodded. "I forgave you a long time ago. It's just, I needed to hear you speak." They decided not to reunite permanently. Dean remained solo. Jerry continued making films. But they promised to see each other more often, like brothers. The next morning, every newspaper ran a big headline: "Dean and Jerry reunited. Tears and laughter shake America." President Lyndon B. Johnson, in a fictional timeline, called to congratulate them. Hollywood was abuzz. Many celebrity couples later drew inspiration from that moment to reconcile. Jerry continued telephoning for years afterward, always referring to Dean as his big brother. Dean, in his shows, often recounted stories about his crazy younger brother. Jerry Lewis sat alone in his luxurious Los Angeles hotel room 2 days after their reunion. He held an old photo album, flipping through the black and white pages. It was 1946. He was 20 years old, performing solo at Club 500 in Atlantic City. That night, Dean Martin, a 29-year-old with a smooth voice from Ohio, stepped onto the stage to replace the sick lead singer. "Hey, kid, what kind of dancing is that? You look like an electrocuted monkey." Dean laughed after the first performance. Jerry blushed but refused to be outdone. "And you sing like an old man? Let me make the audience laugh their heads off." From then on, they tried their hand at acting. Dean sang romantic ballads. Jerry performed comical antics. Within 2 weeks, our audiences flocked to see Martin and Lewis. They signed a big contract with Paramount, beginning their journey to conquer Hollywood. Jerry recalled the old bus tours, Dean driving, smoking, singing Pennies from Heaven. Jerry sitting beside him telling jokes so often Dean had to stop the car laughing uncontrollably. They shared cheap hotel rooms, sharing the loneliness of 2 poor Italian and Jewish men. "You're the big brother, Dean. I'm nothing without you," Jerry once said in 1950. Dean patted him on the shoulder. "And you're the engine, Jerry. Without you, I'm just a street musician." But success came too quickly. My Friend Irma, 1949, was a hit. Then The Stooge, Living It Up, Artists and Models. They made millions of dollars, but the pressure increased. Dean wanted to sing more seriously. Jerry wanted to control everything. Arguments began. Jerry turned off the album, wiping away tears. 11 years. I've tried to forget, but last night everything came back. New York, Copacabana Club, 1956. The stage was brightly lit. Dean and Jerry were at their peak. But backstage, the atmosphere was heavy. Dean was drunk. Jerry was exhausted from producing the film and performing himself. "Jerry, you're driving me crazy. Everything has to be your way," Dean roared. Jerry cried, "Because you don't care. You just want to sing and drink, and I have to carry the whole show." The performance was a disaster. Dean sang half-heartedly. Jerry tried to salvage it with antics, but failed. After the curtain fell, Dean threw the microphone. "It's over, Jerry. I'm not doing it anymore. You take care of yourself." No hug, no goodbye. Dean walked out the back door, got into his car. Jerry slumped to the backstage floor, crying like a child. In the years that followed, Dean built a solo career with Everybody Loves Somebody, 1964, a #1 Billboard hit. Jerry directed, acted, and raised funds for MDA. Both were successful, but empty. Dean Martin lived in a Beverly Hills mansion with his third wife, Jane. He had 7 children, but his relationship with Dino Jr., his eldest son, was very close. Dean enjoyed golf, westerns, and avoided the spotlight. He rarely mentioned Jerry publicly, only occasionally jokingly saying, "That kid is too energetic. I'm too old to handle it." Jerry, on the other hand, threw himself into work like a madman. He divorced Patty in 1980, later reunited, and had 6 children. He produced over 40 films, many of which he directed himself, such as The Errand Boy and The Patsy. But every night he would watch old tapes of the duo and drink alone. His son's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, only strengthened his connection to the MDA telethon. In 1967, before their reunion, Dean received a call from his daughter. "Dad, I saw the newspaper. Are you really going?" Dean just laughed. "Daughter, sometimes you have to face the past." On the morning of September 2nd, 1967, every American newspaper featured the following on its front page. The New York Times, a tearful moment that moved 40 million viewers. The Los Angeles Times, Dean and Jerry, brotherhood returns after 11 years of silence. Frank Sinatra called Dean, "You surprised me, Dino, but don't let Jerry drag you into trouble." Sammy Davis Jr. visited Jerry. "Kid, are you really crying? The whole country is feeling sorry for you." The pressure came immediately. Fans sent tons of letters. Some Dean fans criticized him for being weak, while Jerry fans worried he would be hurt again. ABC offered them a special reunion, but both refused. Dean and Jerry met privately for the first time in 11 years the following week at Dean's house. They drank whiskey, reminisced about old times, and laughed heartily. Dean said, "I don't want to tour again, just meeting like brothers." Jerry nodded. "Okay, but how about singing a song together sometimes?" They began seeing each other privately. In 1968, at a private fundraising event in Las Vegas, they unexpectedly took to the stage to sing "When You're Smiling." A 2,000-person audience rose to their feet and cheered for 15 minutes. In 1969, they appeared in a small NBC TV special, just 30 minutes long. Dean sang a ballad, Jerry added some humor, and then they duetted on "That's Amore" with a fun remix. But the drama continued. In 1970, the press reported that Jerry was overly controlling of Dean. Dean got angry, and they had a small argument. Jerry wrote a 5-page apology letter. Dean called, "Come on, kid, I forgive you." In March 1987, Dino Martin Jr. died in a plane crash. Dean was devastated. Jerry flew straight to Dean's house and stayed for 3 days. He didn't say much, just sat beside him, telling old jokes and singing Dean's favorite songs. "You can't give up, Dean. I still need you," Jerry said, his voice choked with emotion. Dean cried on Jerry's shoulder. For the first time in years, Jerry also had his tough times. Illness and work pressure had worn him out. Dean sent flowers and called weekly. "Take a break, clown. Don't overwork yourself." The 1967 moment became iconic. The documentary The Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis Story, fictional, released in 1975, broke rating records. Many later artists, such as Simon and Garfunkel and Elton John and Bernie Taupin, drew inspiration for their reconciliation. Jerry's telethon MDA continued its success thanks to Dean's recurring appearances. By the 1980s, they had aged, but remained in touch. Malibu, California, 1985. Two old men sat on Dean's porch overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Dean, 68, still had a warm voice. Jerry, 59, was still mischievous but slower. They held old microphones and sang "Everybody Loves Somebody" without accompaniment. Dean looked at Jerry. "You're still the best clown I've ever known." Jerry laughed, tears streaming down his face. "And you're still my older brother. Everything to me." They didn't need the public anymore, just this private moment. Jerry Lewis passed away in 2017, historically, but in the story, after Dean. Before that, he spoke of Dean in every interview. "He was the brother I'd ever had." Dean died in 1995, leaving behind a legacy of music and smiles. Their story reminds America and the world, friendship, even when broken by ambition, jealousy, or weariness, can be healed by a sincere hug and a belated apology. On the telethon stage in 1967, America saw not just two stars, they saw two people, two hearts that had found each other again.